Right now, guys, I want to bring to you my friend and yours. This is Denise in the house. How are you doing, Denise?
I'm doing great, April. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, girl. I'm so glad you could join us this evening. And it's been so good to meet you through Survivors Rock, a breast cancer can stick it community, our cool little support group here on Facebook, and get to know you and everything. And we're gonna get to know you even more tonight. We're gonna dig into the depths of all of it, man. So first of all, man, you've been through a lot over the last few years, and I was talking to you last night, and I'm so amazed at how just energetic and I told you just almost look like refreshed or renewed for someone who has stage 4 breast cancer. Take us back, if you would, Denise, to the very beginning. How did you come to find that you had breast cancer?
In my 40s, I had found out that I had dense breast. So I had had scares in the past where that had always come back negative. But woke up one morning when I was 42 and felt a lump, and I knew that was something. And so I immediately went in to see a gynecologist who referred me to get it tested
Let,
and
let me
did find out.
I was just gonna ask you, so you had dense breasts. Were you going in for regular screening because of that?
Matter of fact, I was, and the last time that they had discovered a dense breast, they even had biopsied the left breast, and because of, I believe, because of insurance, they only looked at the left breast again in 6 months, and unfortunately, it was the right breast that had the cancer.
Wow. Wow. And so, how long was it between your screenings that this was found, that you found that lump?
That was just in a period of 6, 7 months.
Wow. Yeah, and it's crazy how fast stuff like that can appear, but I'm thinking if you felt it, that it was kind of big.
It was big, yeah, by
Yeah.
that point.
How big was it, and did they biopsy it that at that time?
Yes, at that point, I believe it was 3.2 centimeters as was one, and that was the biggest one, and then they had a smaller one that they found as well. That was, I believe it was only like 1.2 centimeters.
And how long ago was this? Because you said, yeah, how long ago was that this happened?
It originally happened in 2016.
Right. Right. So that's still not that long ago, just 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yes. My
So
body's been fighting for those 5 years.
when you found out you had breast cancer, was this a phone call or did they call you into the office? How did that go down?
Yes, I had a biopsy that was sent out and got a phone call. Yeah, from
It's
a the person that was reviewing, I guess, my testing.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't a doctor or anything, so it was
Oh
just
wow.
well,
So it wasn't your doctor or anyone that you actually knew.
no, it wasn't.
Wow.
Just person that was assigned to my testing, and so um, it was a shock. All those things. Found out it was did not appear at that point to be genetic. Um, yeah, but it did confirm that I was triple negative breast cancer.
Right.
That's what I had, and which is, April,
Yeah. Yeah.
being a triple negative breast cancer survivor yourself, one of the most aggressive types of breast cancer
Had you heard
because it is so fast growing.
Yeah, had you heard of triple negative breast cancer when you were diagnosed with it?
Oh, absolutely not.
Did they explain it
This
to you, or did you just get on the magical interwebs at that point?
They did explain it to me, what it was, and you all kinds of things go through your mind at that point, just knowing that it's the most aggressive type of breast cancer. It's the rarest form that you can get. Only probably about 15% of all breast cancers are triple negative breast cancer. And at
Right.
that time, was concerned what treatments were available for it because you can't, unlike most other hormones that are hormone based,
Right.
they know how to target and treat it, because what they're fighting is those hormones, and that's not the case with triple negative.
That's exactly true. We don't the breast cancer that we had, triple negative, doesn't respond to hormone therapy. However, the
Mm.
one good thing is if you catch it early, it does respond better to chemotherapy than other forms of breast cancer, which is a really great point of it. But triple negative breast cancer diagnosis is very scary, and again, those watching, it's a rare, more aggressive form of breast cancer, more likely to recur, all the stuff that you really don't want to hear. So, Denise, at that point, what was your first step?
Uh, the first step was a whole bunch of more testing and scans, and just to make sure, that I was ready and able to move forward with the treatment plan that they would have. And of course, that involves a lot of insurance calls and making sure that they approve it and things like that as well. But for me, the planned treatment was um, the chemo first. Most people get the AC and Taxol, and I did that. And then, second, they had planned to do the double mastectomy and also radiation. Um, During my chemo that I took up front, halfway in between it, uh, I got pneumonia that went sepsis.
Oh my gosh. That's, this is one of the things that we talk about often with people who go through breast cancers. There's this like surprise thing that happens, some other side problem. But pneumonia
Yeah.
is bad enough when you're in chemo treatment, but to have it go sepsis, my gosh. So, what happened with that?
So yeah, I was in the hospital for several weeks. I at that point, through the whole journey, I've had a strong faith in God, and I didn't feel like the breast cancer was going to kill me. But I did feel like I could have died during that time.
I
I
bet.
was not my, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I bet it was probably. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the story where what happened to me was I had my port put in and they punctured my lung. And so I was hospitalized for 5 days with a chest tube. And that was really the darkest point of my entire breast cancer journey. And I bet
yeah,
you that this point that you're describing right now was
yeah,
probably one of yours too. Very scary.
absolutely.
I'm going to interject here and there when I see a question that is pertinent to the moment we're in. And Jeannie is asking, how many rounds of AC and Taxol and radiation did you have? And for those watching, AC is adriamycin and Cytoxin. Adriamycin is the one that they call the Red Devil. And that's usually what you get first, and then Taxol second. So she was asking about how many rounds of each of those did you get?
Yeah. Since it's triple negative, they wanted to treat it pretty aggressively, and so I got the dose dense, which was 4 rounds of the AC, and then right after the fourth round is when I got the pneumonia that went in sepsis, and then a month later, it probably been, I was able to resume and take the 4 doses of the Taxol.
Gotcha. And then the radiation was after that, right? Or was
So,
that the
well,
surgery?
for me, it was the surgery. And in the surgery, they did discover that I didn't have a complete response to the chemo. And so, with that, there was going to be another plan after the radiation. So, with the double mastectomy, after that, I had the 33 rounds of the radiation,
Oh
kind
man,
of like the six.
you said 33 rounds. I'm sorry, I have to jump in when I'm just like, oh my god, shocked by a number. It's like I didn't have any radiation. That was nowhere in my plan. And so when I think about I had chemo and it was 4 rounds of each, so I just had 8 rounds total of chemo. So 33 rounds of anything. How often is that? Like a week?
You go daily,
Oh
right?
my
You go daily,
gosh.
and it's really that to me was the easiest part of the whole treatment
Really?
plan. It really was. You get in and out, and the cancer centers are very well versed and have great nurses on staff and helping you through it all. So you're in and out maybe in 30 minutes with
Wow.
15 minutes of the treatment itself.
That's
So
great. That's really great. I mean, I've heard all kinds of stories of radiation, so I'm glad that those 33 rounds were kind of a skip in the park for you. it's
well,
it's
easy compared
well,
to
yeah, yeah,
what
compared to the
you've been through.
pneummonia and the sepsis and the double
It's a
mastectomy,
double
you're just like
mastectomy.
whatever, man. This is like being at a bar. I don't care.
Get it done.
Right
All
on.
right.
Wow.
Yeah. So then after that, the plan was, and I did start an oral chemo drug at that point called Xeloda. And that was to help ensure that there was no cancer that had gotten out, since they did find some live tumor in my breast, and also just a very small something in my lymph node area under my arm.
So they biopsied and took out a few lymph nodes under your right arm because it was your right side that
Yes,
you had the breast cancer in, and
correct.
right. So they did find some there. So at this point, prior to the surgery, had they staged you at any point in time that you recall?
Oh, with I don't know if that's the case with all breast cancers, but with mine, they didn't stage me until after they had taken out the tumor or what was left of the tumor during the double mastectomy. And at that point, it did just come out. Originally, they had said it was either between stage 3 or stage 2, and they did say it was stage 2
Gotcha.
breast
Yeah.
cancer.
And just so you know, for me as well, I wasn't staged until I had my surgery too.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it was, but I've heard of people that have been staged prior to that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
based on, size, location, number of tumors and that kind of thing. But yeah, so
Yes.
so at this point you're stage 2. Okay. Gotcha.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Stage 2. And the Zolota, I did that for 6 months, and I was so happy to rejoice with, my doctor, Joyce O'Shaughnessy, when I was done in March of 2017. So this whole started in January of 2016, and I was done with my treatment, in March of 2017.
Gotcha. And for everybody watching, Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy was my doctor as well. She also leads up the clinical trials that many people are benefiting from that Breast Cancer Can Stick It donates to. And she also does our fact or fiction here on the Breast Cancer Can Stick It, the Beat broadcast. So we love Dr. O here,
We
man.
love
Don't
her.
we? I mean, my gosh, she's awesome, man. And it's like she's not even paying me to say this. She probably should. But yeah,
She's very passionate about what
yeah,
she does and a great advocate and really
truly.
knows her stuff. And yeah, I'm so
So
glad I have her on my team.
yeah, so you guys partied and were excited. I mean, like joyfully, like got excited,
Yes.
not like actually went out and
Yes.
partied. I don't think, but you guys were all
But it
joyful
was
and
hugs and
yeah,
yeah.
and that was in 2017, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then what happened?
So then in 2019, I had some stomach issues. I didn't know what it was and went to just my regular doctor, and and they started me on treatment for diverticulitis. And at that point, did a CT scan and said it was not diverticulitis, but they really couldn't identify what it was. But
What
whatever it was,
can you tell us what diverticulitis is?
oh,
Or if
it
hey, you made the mistake of telling me you were open book. If you don't forget, so you remember
Oh,
that.
I don't know if I can exactly say what it is, but, whatever it was completely painful and,
Oh no.
more people. it's, you know what, I can't even medically tell you what it is, but I knew it was just extremely painful, and that's what they thought it was, and that's what I was experiencing pain from.
Was it like in your gut or in your chest, or where was the pain?
It was kind of in the stomach area
Uh-huh.
and just, like excruciating stabbing pain.
Gosh, it's like the everything else was already bad enough with the sepsis and the pneumonia and mastectomy, and now they
No,
gotta
but I was good by then, you
yeah,
know, I
but the
was feeling great, and
yeah.
other than that, coming up randomly, it was, like, only lasted for a few days and, or a week or whatever, and it was gone. Um, but with all that, I think in, the year before and with my age, at that point, I was already, past 45, and my OBGYN had recommended, just basically since everything I'd been through, she said, "Hey, I would suggest that you go ahead and get a colonoscopy." And I didn't know. I thought, you know, that you do that at 50, but apparently the rules have changed and they do recommend it. And she said, just based on my situation. Well, since I had that diverticulitis, I had to go see a gastro doctor.
Gastroenterologist, think?
Yeah, you knew what I meant. And got to see him for the CT scan that came out clear, and he says I'm fine. But since I'm there and the little voice in the back of my head was saying, okay, my OBGYN said to go ahead and schedule a colonoscopy. So I went ahead and scheduled a colonoscopy. Um, and I that was probably in April that I saw him, and my colonoscopy was scheduled for June. And in June of 2019, I get the results back. I get the call actually from my new doctor, gastroenterologist doctor, and he says, in all his of years of practicing, they had found a polyp, which it was a 8 millimeter polyp, really small polyp, thinking it was just a polyp and he would be able to remove it. But they tested it and they even tested it twice. And it came out to be metastatic breast cancer in the colon,
Wow. I just can't even
which is
imagine.
not common.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just can't even imagine getting that call, because you had no reason to think there was anything going on,
No,
right?
no, I didn't.
And so
I was doing well.
how many this is 2019 you said, I think?
Yes,
Yeah, so just a
2019
couple
in
years
June of
yeah.
mhm,
So 2 years after you celebrated, being free of
almost two and
this.
a half years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, man, so I guess the next call was probably to Dr. O, huh?
Yeah, I was the very next call, she's like he goes, "I've already reached out to your
Oh,
oncologist,"
good,
and
good.
so,
Yeah,
yeah, I was, on the phone with the nurses there, and, we were setting up a plan for
yeah.
me.
Wow. I'm just like trying to imagine that just totally must have taken the wind out of your sails to hear that. So I know they had a plan. Let's hear about it.
Um, well, the plan was, to come in, and what Dr. O was really great about is they have some advanced testing that wasn't available when I originally was diagnosed or wasn't given to me. It's usually when you're diagnosed as stage 4. Yes, I had had all the genetic testing that was done back in 2016, but now they were able to do genomic testing, and find out. Basically, it's an additional testing that allows us to discover potentially what chemo treatments I may be able to respond to.
That is a very cool trick, man. I mean, and I'm sitting here as you're talking, I'm just like, gosh, like so much has changed, like even just in 10 years. I mean, like when I first was diagnosed in 2010, they only had like 7 different genes you could get tested for, and now it's like
Sure.
probably, I mean, I think the last time I was tested there was like 27, and I think there's even more now. And this
Mhm.
testing that you're talking about isn't anything I had heard of at all, and so this is, completely new too. And we're just so lucky that there's people out there just pushing and pushing and pushing to make a difference in this, medically, that in the medical field that they're really pushing for this. So they tested you to find out what chemo your specific cancer would respond best to. And did
Could
it come?
possibly
Yeah. And it came back with a winner. It was like, this is the one.
well, no. Um, you know, being like triple negative, it is in some
Right.
regards. It didn't have some of the markers or the indicators that they might have been looking for, but it did give some potential trials that it recommended based on my type of tumor markers.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So how did you go about making a decision on the trials? I'm sure you had to qualify for the trials that
Yeah.
were available. And so, did she basically say, "Hey, I think this one would be the best one for you"?
So, Dr. O'Shaughnessy did, she's pretty amazing, runs her own clinical trials and did have several options that she thought might work for me, but waited for the genomic testing to get back. And then we made a decision. She helped me think through what possibly would be the best clinical trial for me to go on to. I did take that as an opportunity. I'm originally from Houston. I live here in Dallas. And went to MD Anderson to get a second opinion as well. Um, Always highly recommended, and Dr. O'Shaughnessy did encourage me. I wanted to take a look at that as well. And so I was able to go to MD Anderson because I thought they might have some additional options or trials that Dr. O'Shaughnessy might not have had. Um, but after going to MD Anderson, they didn't really have anything for me. And I was so grateful and really knew that Dr. O was going to be my doctor. I just needed to see if there was anything else out there that I wasn't missing.
Well, I think that that's a really smart thing to do in general. Just taking charge of your own personal health and making sure that you drive home every option there is, and also that you have peace of mind in any decisions that you're making. So I think a second opinion always very smart. It's good to know that sounds like they, thought what Dr. O had for you was probably the best thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
they agreed, yeah, for at the time what they had available.
Uh-huh.
But you hit on something that I always definitely, would tell people that you have to be your own best advocate in this, scenario, and unfortunately, yes, you're already struggling, through a lot because it is a affects your whole mind, body, spirit. For me, I'm a wife and a mom of 2 kids and a full-time real estate agent, and it just impacts your total world, but you really almost take on another full-time job, being your own best advocate, trying to find clinical trials that may match up or work for your situation, or trying to get insurance approved to approvals for additional testing that you may think, or having things looked at. So I just definitely highly recommend um, always being your best advocate because you know your body the best. And yeah, so I would tell
Oh
you
yeah.
to listen to your body and push for yourself.
Yeah, so true, and you're right, it is almost like a full-time job because you're like you said, you're studying things and figuring out the best route for you, researching different things about, your particular situation, exploring maybe people who've had similar experiences.
Yeah.
I remember, my social media team who's on right now, they're gonna make fun of me, but I I do a spreadsheet for virtually everything, so I definitely made a spreadsheet back then of everybody
Yes.
of everybody that I knew that had had any kind of cancer or any kind of breast cancer, and what stage they were, what they were diagnosed, everything, just so I knew who to go to about the different things. Oh, who
Mhm.
had a double mastectomy? Let me call, Cindy over here or
Yeah,
whoever.
yeah.
And so, yeah, being on top of that stuff and just really watching out for your own self. I know also I always talk about how going to appointments, I recorded everything so that I
Mhm.
could play that back because a lot of times, like you said, you're going through an emotional journey with this as well as a physical journey. So it's really
Yeah,
easy to miss things when you're
yeah.
emotional. And so recording things really, really helped. All right, so we've got you where Dr. O has the trial that she thinks that you would benefit from. So what
Yeah.
happened next? How do you like just sign up and get in it? And do you like I've always wondered this sounds weird, but
With the trial,
I
yes, you
I
kind of sign up and you're almost signing your life away because 'cause they're like,
bet.
"You're going to be on this for the rest of your life." But,
Wow.
I was like, "I'm not gonna be on this for the rest of my life." But, no, they go through everything. You're assigned to a trial nurse, and they'll go through everything with you and, then get you prepped and ready and to get started, and of course, at that point, I had already previously taken out my port, so I got that done, and yeah, and then we got started with this new treatment plan, which was a great trial. I was able to be on it for a full year, and it was kind of like a triple effect of um, immunotherapy and a targeted therapy and chemo all in one that I
Wow.
was able to do.
I've
Yeah.
always wondered, like, when you're on these trials, are like, I went to Baylor Salmon's Cancer Center for my treatment, and so there's this
I did.
specific infusion center. And is it a different like? Do you go into the same infusion center for your if you're on a trial, or is there no infusion? How does it work? Like, are you in a special wing for all the trial
No.
people or anything?
It is the same infusion center that you went to. I also was treated at Baylor Salmon's Cancer Center, and it is still on that floor 3. And they just know that they're giving you the drugs that were prescribed to you. So,
Right, right. Well, that's cool. So you were on that for a full year, and how often were you going?
um, I was probably going at that point. I think it was. I'm forgetting already now. How quickly we would forget. I think it was 3 weeks on and 1 week off.
Gotcha, gotcha. Wow. So after that was over, what was the next step for that? Now, are you on like a particular medication that you take daily?
So with triple negative, they don't have anything additional that you take daily, but I with that treatment, I was taking some oral pills. Once I got off of that, because we determined at first I was having a good response to it, and that unfortunately, it no longer was responding as well as it had in the beginning. And they saw progression into different areas. My metastatic breast cancer had gone to just the lymph nodes and the bones area, but it was additional lymph nodes and bones area that had gone to. And so with that, I didn't know what I was going to do again. And um, at that point, decided to talk to Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy and determine what she believed to be the best course of action for me. And then I also went back to MD Anderson to get a second opinion as well.
Yeah, great. Are you still
And
there? You kind of looks like you
MD
locked up for a second.
Anderson did have
I'm
this
gonna give her a
a
second to get
trial for me
her I'm gonna give her just a
to
second for
try,
her internet connection
but
to get back,
the grace.
guys. So hang tight. Oh, she's back. We got her back. Hello. We had a little bit of a blip with with the internet connection, so you're back
Hi,
now. Yeah,
sorry
yeah.
about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So So you were
Okay,
talking
I
about
don't know where I was, but
yeah, you said that you had a second you got a second opinion from MD Anderson.
yeah,
Okay.
mhm. Yes, I got a second opinion at MD Anderson, and they recommended a clinical trial. And what I was saying was, by the grace of God, Dr. O'Shaughnessy had advocated for a particular brand new drug that had been FDA approved in April of 2020. And she advocated for me to go ahead and move forward with that drug. And it's called Trodelvy. And I'm grateful to say I have been on it since November of 2020, and it is working.
That's so
And the last scans were a lot of the tumors were either completely gone or looked like they were dead, or there was only one area, which is a lymph node, other area that they still wanted to monitor closely.
wow. So is this one of the PARP inhibitors that I hear a lot about? Is it one of those?
It is a targeted therapy too, but I think it is a PARP inhibitor.
Gotcha. That's so stinking awesome. I mean, it's like almost like a miracle, right? Like that's so
Yes,
crazy.
yes.
Wow.
It
It's so when was that last scan where you learned all that? And were you like, I mean, was this an even bigger like high five, chest bump kind of situation happening?
super ecstatic and happy and grateful that we found something that is working and that Dr. O'Shaughnessy had advocate for me to get onto this drug. Um, as I said, MD Anderson had recommended another trial, but Dr. O felt strongly that this would work for me.
And that
So,
that one was hot off the press too, April 2020, and got
yes,
you in there.
yes.
And so what date did you I'm sorry, I'm like so into like timelines. But like what date did you
November
start that? What
2020.
and then okay. And then and how recent was the scan again?
The scan was just in March,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll get another scan in May, the
I
end
j-
of May.
I just want to tell everybody who's watching right now to like start hitting the hearts like crazy people and show Denise some big stinking love because my God, what a story and what a journey, roller coaster of a journey. So hit those hearts like crazy, everybody. I want to see those flying in here. You
Thank
have a
you.
lot of comments too. I'm going to just pop back for just a second. I want you to let you know that that Melanie Leach said that she is praying over you. There was Jeannie is on, and she said that she
Melanie.
had 35 rounds of radiation, so she's totally with you. Tracy Shelton says hello to you. Lowell Strike says we love our Denise. Stephanie Winkle is sending you a bunch of hearts. Tanya says we love you, Denise.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing your story. You're getting a lot of love and a lot more love coming through.
Thank
Lots of
you.
hearts are flying all over the place. Mandy pointed out that we hear so many times how important it is to be your best advocate, your own best advocate. It's so important. Tracy Shelton says, our story is so close. I met Denise last week at our treatment, and we couldn't believe how much we had in common with treatment, triple negative, and so on. I feel blessed to have a new friend to share our experience with. Tracy's in the house. Girl, Tracy, you should join us over at
Yay.
Survivors Rock, a breast cancer can stick it community. We would love to have you there and hear more about your story as
You
well.
should.
And that is the coolest thing when you meet someone special at your treatment. I mean, that just is something that doesn't, is a very special bond. I will just say that. And then I
Well,
see,
and especially she's also on the same treatment plan now, Trodelvy,
yeah,
that I
yeah.
am on.
Very cool. That's awesome. And yeah, because that's really important when you're like going through something super new and fresh to have like a buddy in that. My goodness, that's got to be important. Wow.
Yeah, we sat right next to each other, and I felt like that was a total God thing that we were put together to sit next to each other. And I've met some great people in treatment before, but it just felt like I'm always called and led, and almost like a ministry to be able to sit around people and chat with them and hear their stories.
No doubt. No doubt. And I mean, it's almost what this is too, to be able to share your story with others watching right now,
Yeah.
who can gain inspiration and hope from everything that you've gone through, Denise. I'm really glad that you're sharing it. I'm going to read a few more comments. I'm sorry to take up some time. We just have a lot of people very excited to hear your story. Um, Mandy says Dr. O is brilliant, and Carrie says you are such an inspiration, Denise. You're a fighter. You are amazing. Carmen says she is a walking miracle. I would have to agree with that. Courtney Woods, who is from our Survivors Rock, a breast cancer can stick it community here on Facebook, she says you are amazing, Denise. We'll have to show her a bunch of love,
Thank
Courtney, in
you.
the group over there. Lupe says my miracle niece. She's sending you some love. And
Thank you.
Carmen says Daddy loves his number one girl. Is that your dad? Carmen in the house? That's
That
awesome.
Carmen is my, stepmother. Yep.
Oh, so cool. Very cool. Let's see. We've got Jessica says, you are such an amazing woman, Denise. Thank you for sharing. Tara sends you a big old heart. Linda says, fighting like a mom. And Tina says, you
Yes.
are a shining light for many women. So you've got a lot of love happening in the group. And I know we're at the end of
Yeah.
the hour, and it's so funny, Denise, because I'm like, we like totally skated past your mastectomy as if it hardly even happened. And we'll have to have you back sometime and tell a story from a different angle and get up to speed on
Yeah.
um your how that went over, and if you had reconstruction. Like, we have, like, there's so many other things we could talk about.
Sure.
But before I forget, the big thing I want to make sure and close out this night with you on is to find out, tell everybody what was one thing that you really feel like you gained from having going through breast cancer.
Hmm. I gained so many things, I would have to say. And I certainly would not wish this diagnosis of disease or death possible. But through it, I learned and was able to appreciate the beauty of nature, of things, of people, of their kindness and their goodness and their generosity to me and the village of people that surrounded me and compete love. I felt complete love for people and people just wanting to care for me and love for me. But I would say there is a fearlessness that comes with this diagnosis in the face of potential death. And with that, um, I would not wish this on anyone, but to gift people that fearlessness and that new sense of being able to take risk and to believe in yourself and to recognize that you had dreams inside of you that you can act on and believe that they can come to fruition. And that I wish I could share with everyone.
And are you trying to make me cry on our own very broadcast right now? That's beautiful. Seriously, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, and just for providing such hope to so many women out there, Denise, and
Never
so
give
many,
up.
yeah, so many important points that you've made that I think many women can glean from and take with them on their own journeys, whether it's through breast cancer or some other trial or tribulation in their life, some other obstacle. Lots of good tidbits in this for sure. So, man, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We're gonna
Thank
have you back
you.
on sometime, and you've got to keep me posted on you. Such an exciting
Thank
story,
you.
and the work that
April,
Dr. O is
appreciate
doing.
it.
Yeah, man, so glad to have you on the show tonight. And I will catch you
And
over on Survivor's Rock for sure. Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you to you, April, for this breast cancer can stick it and for what you're doing to. I know that you are a strong supporter and contributor of giving back to the clinical trial research that is helping save lives that Dr. O'Shaughnessy leads. So I'm so grateful for you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. It takes a village. We have a wonderful crew of people working our tailbones off to do this, and I thank you so very much. You're just like I'm like on the cusp of crying on this tonight, man. I just love you, girl. I'm so grateful that we had this
Love
time
you.
together, and I can't wait to chat with you again. And we'll talk more over there on our Facebook group. Okay.
Yes.
All
Thanks,
right.
April.
You have a
Talk to you
great
soon.
evening. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
You too. Bye.
Guys, Denise, rock star, amazing, amazing.